Conscious Conversations. Thank you for being with me tonight. It's been a busy week, a very exciting week with Whitestone Weekend, and now tomorrow evening we'll have Reverend Blair's class beginning on Rumi. So it's starting to feel like a lot's going on in 2021. My guest tonight is Lynn Wood, and I'm very excited to have her be with us. I learned myself the wisdom of the body, and Lynn was one of my teachers in determining how much the body influences our spiritual awakening. There's a reason that we talk about mind, body, and spirit, and we say things like, the body never lies. So we're going to explore that a little more, the role of the body in our spiritual awakening. But first, let's read our poem for tonight. And it's another Mary Oliver poem because when I thought about the body, I thought about this quote from her very, very beloved poem called Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. And now let's listen to this song by Daniel Neyma. Daniel was our guest on Sunday, and we now have a recorded version of one of Daniel's best songs.
Bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through hoping against all hope. I'm through longing for something gone that'll never return. I think I finally learned to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through grieving, I'm through dreaming that the life I had is ever coming back. No more wishing on someone else's star. Oh, that'll never be mine. I think it's time to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. And I've survived many times before, broken hearts and slamming doors. I'll be all right, yes I will, once more, just as I did back then. I'm gonna rise again, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. So bring it on. Everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I know it's gonna be everything new.
Daniel Nehmad.
Thank you, Daniel. Our prayer list for January includes all of those who have requested prayer, and you can also leave a prayer request on our website or fill out a prayer request form on Sunday. Let's say a prayer for all those and all of those who are not on the list as well. Holy Spirit, we call to mind all those we wish to bless in prayer. We envision support for the highest outcomes for each and every one of them. We see them finding joy, health, and peace, forgiveness and love, whatever they need to live their most fulfilling life. We see them blessed, healed, and prospered in all ways. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And so it is. Amen. Our daily word meditation today is comfort, appropriately enough. We can offer this also to those that we pray for, and we can offer it to ourselves. The presence of God within is my source of comfort and strength. Remembering that God is within me now and always helps me cope in trying and difficult situations. Life has its ups and downs, its triumphs, and even tragedies. But I am able to weather any storm and be grateful in every experience when I rely on the presence of God within. I not only grow in understanding and faith, but I become more aware of my indwelling divinity that leads me on the path of peace. I will not leave you are words that I have said to my loved ones when they needed support or encouragement. And I feel those words deep within me now as I seek peace and comfort from my awareness of God. Knowing I do not face any situation alone is a beautiful comfort to me, now and always. And our Bible quote is from the book of John, I will not leave you orphaned, I am coming to you. I will not leave you orphaned, I am coming to you. So let's have a meditation and hold that in our heart. I will not leave you orphaned. I am coming to you. And now, as we return to this time and this place, let's listen to another song from Daniel.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now.
Thank you, Daniel. Now I want to introduce Lynn Wood, a member of our Unity of Tustin community and a very accomplished teacher of all the gifts that the body has to give us, practically speaking, as well as spiritually speaking. It's all one. And Lynn is an expert at this. Many of you know Lynn Wood. Lynn Wood has been a member of our community for quite a long while. She is going to tell us a little about herself first and about her background. And your background begins with your dance background, correct?
Depends on how far you want to go back.
Well, I'm sure there's a story before that, but professionally, you were trained as a dancer.
I was, but I didn't actually come to dance until college, which
College.
most individuals who study dance usually come to it when they're really very young, maybe even as early as 4 or 5. But no, I didn't have a mom that wanted to drive me around to the dance studios, and I didn't know if I wanted to dance or twirl a baton or whatever. And I did twirl a baton at one point, but no, as a sophomore, actually, they put in a dance major at UCSB, and I said, well, that sounds cool, because I took a class for the general ed, and it was the introduction to dance, and I saw a lot of films, and it was mostly modern dancers. And what I saw in those films was something really deep. I mean, at the time it was in the 60s, right? So the Gold Diggers were on TV, and you mostly saw dances that sort of, chorus line, rah, rah,
Right.
kicks and twirls and tricks. And what I saw in the films in the class I took was this really beautiful spiritual movement. It took me to this different place. It wasn't just entertainment, it was embodiment. It was really embodying the movement in such a way that it was fused with the dancer, like the dancer was completely present with body, mind, and soul. And I was so fascinated by that I decided to become a dance major. Having not taken any dance, I didn't realize that was an impossible thing to pursue.
And it obviously wasn't, right? You just immediately said, this is what I'm going to do.
They wanted to start a major, and they only had 6 students.
Oh, okay.
I was lucky. They kind of had to take me.
Okay. So you happen to be like on the ground floor, so to speak.
Yes.
And so this was your beginning. And then when you graduated with your dance major, then what happened?
Well, I went for my master's degree to UCLA, where I studied with many really amazing artists, because at that time, UCLA and NYU were probably the 2 top schools in the country. And so all the major choreographers and dancers would want to come to those places to be in residence. So I got to study with Alan Nicolai and Merce Cunningham and Jose Limon, and all the great modern dancers. And so that was really special. But I also got introduced to dance therapy there.
And tell us, what is dance therapy?
Well, that's what we were all trying to figure out in our graduate class. And Alma Hawkins, who was the chair of the department, was working at the Neuropsychiatric Institute at UCLA and doing some movement with their inpatients there. And so she had that practice, and she was very interested in dance as healing. And I was attracted to that too. And so I ended up taking that whole graduate course in that. And what we sorted out is the creative process heals. And it's the process itself, but it's more than just going through the creative process. It's being conscious of the creative process as you go through it and reach all the points in that creative process, which are the difficult parts of creating anything. But so it was whether dance, just the act of dancing, which is getting the blood flowing and feeling better and feeling positive about doing something, but there's deeper layers to movement and connecting to the impulse, the urge to express through your body. not just to copy some movement and then try and do it
Mhm.
perfectly, but
Mhm.
to actually find what wants to come through you, what what wants to be expressed. And like any artist, if you're a painter, the same if you're a dancer.
Mhm. And it strikes me when you're talking that, so often we see dancing or singing or, as you said, painting as something we do for others, something to show others. But I think what you're talking about is a process where you're reaching deeper within yourself.
Right, and reaching deeper in yourself, much like many artists that do that, many other kinds of artists with different modalities. Um, it seems to me when you get to the very root of it, my experience is that you touch on the spiritual level.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure that that's how because you eventually were, is it correct to say, a professor of dance?
Yes.
Yes. And so you became that same thing for others. You showed others how to access that.
Right. That was my primary process of, in my role, I think in whatever faculty I was connected to. I taught at UCLA for a while. I also taught at the University of Colorado and then around at colleges locally here, and then eventually the longest time at Cal State Fullerton
Right.
dance department.
Yeah.
And it was always me against or me alongside of the other faculty that were more concerned with the training and the technique
Okay.
of the dancer. And while I was interested in the training and technique of the dancer, I taught composition classes and kinesiology classes on, how the body works and getting the students to be able to feel their structure, to really connect to their structure, their bones, so that their dancing would come more from the deepest core of their bodies. And once again, that leads right to the spiritual if you go deep enough. But I was always the one that was doing that thing they said I was still in the 60s or something. That was
Oh, so they saw you as not really
not mainstream,
modern enough or
not mainstream, not professional enough. I
not
guess you would
professional
say
enough.
that.
Oh.
Because what I would teach a course in dance improvisation where I was really trying to get the students to let go of their technique and remember why it was that they wanted to dance in the first place, and to really find that expression that always wanted to come through them, and
Mhm.
to then take their technique, trust their technique to support that, as opposed to having the technique be the main thing and
Mhm.
having to constantly strive for perfection, which leads them into all kinds of self hatred and
Oh my.
all kinds of balls of wax that dancers get into, which is really unhealthy.
Yeah, it's kind
But
of known, isn't it, as something that sometimes, I mean, obviously we've all heard books or heard stories, read books, seen movies about because dancers, in my view, are really the best athletes, the greatest athletes. They're the people whose bodies are really at, peak performance, but there's a cost to that.
yeah, there's a cost to that on all levels, I mean, physically and also mentally and spiritually. There's unless unless you become balanced, unless a
Yes.
dancer strives to become balanced and more satisfied. That's why I think modern dance to me was so much more satisfying and life sustaining than, for instance, ballet.
Hmm. Well, and now that we're talking about, balance, because this is really the subject here, I myself, other than going out dancing, not even recently, but the idea of the body, the role of the body in our spiritual life, mind, spirit, and body. Um, and of course, like most people or many people, I was raised in, a religious tradition where the body was the source of sin. The body was this thing that would lead you astray, whether your appetites or your drives or your the whole idea was to control the body, to limit what the body could do, and therefore you would be holier. So this is a very different paradigm that we're talking about, the idea of becoming embodied as part of our spiritual practice. And you've done much work with that whole idea of being embodied. What does that really mean when we talk about being embodied?
I'm really struck by how you described the way you were raised in the Catholic tradition.
Yes.
I wanted to say a couple of things as you were talking about that, having ultimate control over the body and taming the body or whatever. It's
Right.
like, that's really the way the dancers approach it.
Oh,
So for me, it was like trying to balance that out, right? So is it again this impulse to tame the body, always to lose the extra pounds? You're never quite perfect enough.
mm-hmm.
Oh, this knee won't work right. Well, I'm just going to force it, you know, as opposed to feeling what's there, starting to appreciate, and I guess say, turn more attention to valuing, acknowledging, accepting, and ultimately loving your instrument, your body, so that then you can allow what your body can express and what your body, how your body can move and what you want to express through your heart and your soul. That's different than anyone else's.
Yes, it's
Right.
the uniqueness, right? That's a big part of it. And I think what you're saying is, training the body or suppressing. That was how the feeling was that I always had, ignore those drives of the body. And of course, we've all heard stories of various saints and spiritual practitioners that one of the things they would do is deprive the body of food and rest or whatever in an attempt to transcend the body. I guess that was the goal. But now we're talking about embodied spirituality. So what does that mean?
Yeah, so why do we want to be embodied, right?
Yeah, exactly. Why do we want to?
So let's talk about embodiment. Well, I mean, the truth is for me is that we have bodies, and I mean, it's like if we are spirit cloaked in a body, if we are, divine light in a body, then there's some reason that we're in this form. It's like the form of our body is a limit in a way, and gravity is a limit,
Mhm.
to the
Right.
dancer, and our form is a limit. We got two arms and two legs, and it's fine, but we're in this body. It's like the power of limits. If you have this limitation, then there is a way that you can learn and create from that place. And you can, I want to say, to be embodied is to surrender to this limitation or this form to learn and experience everything you can. I mean, if you're flying around the air in spirit, there are no limits. You can go anywhere, you know. But in order to actually push up against push up against a limitation, it actually forces you to be creative. It's kind of like what's happened through COVID, that we've been so creative to transcend the limitations that we've had to deal with, that there's so many amazing things that have been born from it. And I feel the same way with being in a body. It's like there's if we are spirit and everything is spirit, then every single cell in our body is spirit. And to ground into the body also means, and through the other work I got into, which is healing work, which I slid right into from my work as a dance teacher, that's a whole other transition. But um, it's like when you deeply come into your body, all your pain and your issues, all of your things that you don't want to face come up. And so there is a strong impulse to not be grounded, to not
Right.
be all the way in your body, because if you ground into that, you're going to have to face and look at some things that, you don't want to see and don't want to look at and don't want to feel. So,
And we all know we all know that we can recognize when someone is just a talking head, right? They're just coming out of their head. They're not grounded in their body. There's not a sense of solidness about them. And we all know what that looks like. And, you know, it strikes me as you're talking, the journey for me partly was making friends with my body, being, you know, really listening, because, you know, we all know the saying, the body doesn't lie. And if you've had that experience of your body knowing something deeply, of the body as a sort of repository of truth for me, it's not truth for you, but it's truth for me. It's so authentic, deeply authentic, that nothing takes its place, really. It's really, when you know it in your body, you really know it.
right. And it's your vessel that you were given, that you were born into, to find that truth and to connect so deeply into your body that that truth is revealed to you and also shared with others. And when you are, you know, when you connect to that truth and are really embodied, you become a teacher for others. It's an example, and it helps others to come into that place where they can know who they truly are.
So when people, you know, you mentioned this healing work, and I of course know of your core energetics work, and I know you have other work that you do as well. When someone comes to you, and I bet a lot of the time they don't even know that the word embodiment, embodied spirituality, they don't really know what that's what they're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for something that they almost can't identify, and you probably, I mean, I'm guessing, because I can only use myself who benefited from your work. The body gives us signals all the time, and we ignore them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just say, you know, well, that's just the body, or we don't even know what it means. But it's like opening up a whole new world when you realize those signals from your body can really be your guide, even more so than the mind.
Oh, way more so than the mind.
Yeah.
Right, and mostly it's any signal you're getting from the body. It either feels good or it doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel good, then you want to take it away or take a pill or do something.
Right. Right. That's what we're taught, right?
Yeah, and if it feels good, you want more of that, and you don't want that to go away. But as far as really listening to, letting the sensations and impulses and wisdom, actually starting with sensation and feeling, letting yourself be present with that, it will then lead you deeper and deeper into truth, into actually recognizing patterns that you do and you're in that may be keeping you stuck with growing and moving where you want to grow. You become more aware of them, more conscious of them. So you become conscious through paying attention to the impulses and the expressions in the moving body as you move through it, as you experience, feel, and then move it out.
And the idea is that you described it very well. Of that feels uncomfortable. I want to get rid of that. I don't want to deal with that, or I don't want to feel that, and of course it's so easy to do that now when the distractions that we have are so available. But it sounds like what you're saying is to become embodied is when you pay attention and sit with. I mean, I don't think we have to be coached to sit with our positive feelings, right, or our good feelings, but we do need some coaching and some help to sit with our feelings that are painful, feelings that are difficult, because I don't know, would you say we're hardwired as human beings to just want to get rid of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pain. That's pain. It's a signal, right? To, well,
Hmm.
something's wrong. Let's fix it. Well, there are different ways of fixing it, right? So you can either numb it, ignore it, distract yourself,
Hmm.
right? Or you can be present with it, go deeper, find out more about it, move the expression. I mean, in meditation, right? In at least some forms of meditation, that's where you're guided to sit with what comes up and be present with it.
Hmm.
And I would say that in the work I do, which I've called conscious movement, which is, I mean, there's different work, the core energetics, but also just the pure movement work that I do as healing, which I do more now online than the core work, actually, though I do both online. Um, there's a way that you can, what do I want to say, just be so, it's like it's hard to express it, right? It's like you have to do it. Um, as,
Right.
as you're moving, you start to become aware of your own patterns, and you become more conscious of that. And the feeling of the negative energy, then you can move the negative, the feelings that you're hiding from yourself, whether it's anger or fear, the difficult ones, pain, anger, or fear,
Right. Right. Right.
things,
Right.
and stay with them. But it's those feelings that actually cause you to unground and disembody. So that's what I would say is connected to the term spiritual bypass.
So say that again about it
If you
actually causes you to disengage from your body.
Right, because you want to get away from the feelings. So we've been actually used to doing this since we were babies. We
Right.
in and out of our bodies, in and out of our bodies. Your energy field, you can go out and come back in, and I've had some teachers, some of my healing teachers at the Barbara Brennan School, describe it as a lifetime of incarnation. It's not just this incarnation that we have when we come into our body as a baby. It's a whole lifetime of more deeply incarnating, being willing to feel all of life so that you can, you use your body so that you can feel all of life and deeply connect to the all that is, and being open to all of life flowing through you and being connected with spirit.
So it sounds as if, feelings that we don't like, want to disown. And I'm thinking a lot about anger because for a lot of people, including me, feeling anger was just not permitted. And particularly, after I began, I guess you could say, on the spiritual path, anger was always taught as well. If you're feeling angry, that's not spiritual. That's not in keeping with spiritual principles. And I have to say that with your help, um, feeling angry to me is, I really honor that when I feel angry. I had I won't go into it, but I had a serious physical problem because I did not feel angry. And I didn't know that there was a physiological process that when you don't feel angry, you shut that process down and you're going to have other difficulties with your body.
So it's basically the way energy flows through your body, right? If there's a dam somewhere and it doesn't flow and isn't expressed, then it's going to be expressed somewhere. It's going to turn back on you somehow. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
held in an organ or a system. It's going to have to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's, whether you keep it, whether you don't allow it, whether you, what do I say, project it out onto somebody else, a partner, or the world or politics.
Yeah.
You can project it out, or you can own your anger and really embody it and express it and have it and have it be okay to have it. So
Yeah,
if it's not allowed, if there's an emotion that's not allowed, you are going to try and project it outward. And I think really that's probably where wars come from and all the conflict.
absolutely. Yes. So I think that it's about feeling everything without, you don't necessarily, well, you don't have to act on it, but you need to feel it. So you use the term spiritual bypass, and that's another thing that we talk about. Well, I think we don't talk about it enough, but how would you describe spiritual bypass?
Well, I think that there's like such an impulse to, to grow and to be more connected with that deeper part of ourselves that we know and we've always sensed is there. And we love the being in a community like that because there are others that also are interested in feeling that same thing and being more connected to the one, to all that is, to God. Um, so we want to just jump right in. Want to just jump right in and be there. And there's so many wonderful experiences being on a high with a group of people or even on your own in meditation sometimes that I think it can be very much sometimes like an addiction.
Mm.
That you want to just go there to bypass. And in fact, actually, I think that's at the root of addiction. It's like whatever you're addicted to takes you to that place where you can connect to spirit as a shortcut route there, like even alcohol or drugs or or sex addiction or any other kind of addiction where you can bypass whatever pain you're feeling into something that feels more pleasurable,
Mm.
possibly very unhealthy for you but more pleasurable.
Right.
But off the subject a little bit, although everything is connected, if you're in a spiritual community and say you're in meditation, and you go and you leave your body and you can have a nice trip out there and have all kinds of images and wonderful lights and all that stuff.
Right.
It's like a vacation, right? It's
A
really,
reality,
yeah.
right?
And there's really nothing wrong with that as long as you know that you're doing that. You're being conscious of what you're doing there. But the really deep work, I think, in meditation, I think, from people that I've talked to that have done a lot of serious meditation over a long time, um, you get tired of that, of those trippy things, and then up comes the deeper stuff, the stuff
Mhm.
that you need to look at and face. But again, it's like going back to what I said about if you're deeply grounded and embodied, if you're feeling and really aware of your breath, but you stay aware of that breath and aware of your body and aware of your connection to the ground and your rootedness, and you stay with that awareness while you're, meditating. So it's like bouncing a ball. You have to go down to go up. You have to go down to go up. So you ground deeply into your body, and then you can expand your field to the place where you can also include all those levels of vibration until you get to the highest vibration. But you haven't lost your ground, because if you're deeply grounded and rooted, then whatever is supposed to come up for your learning, for your growth, for your awareness, will come through.
Well, and I think, I guess from my own perspective, there's so many shoulds attached to, if I'm spiritual, I should be loving all the time. If I'm spiritual, I should never feel angry. If I'm spiritual, I will recognize that I lost my job, but that's okay because something better is going to come along. So it's kind of like a jump over. That's where the bypass part comes in, right? I want to jump over what are normal feeling, what I'm going to call normal feelings. I mean, any sort of loss comes with, feelings of sadness and maybe anger and grief. But a lot of people on the spiritual path try to jump over that and go right to, well, yeah, something better's out there. Yeah, something better is out there. And, there's still a process.
Right. And and you can become deeply disillusioned at the end of that path, because if you're not totally grounded, as a matter of fact, in order to manifest what you want to get through, that different place to live or that new life, that
Right.
better income, you do need to be grounded. I mean, physics tells us that. I mean, you have the impulse and the longing, but then it has to ground into this reality, and the way it does that is through your body.
Hmm. Yeah, the body is going to tell
Yeah.
you.
But
Uh,
then if you go into the body to do the grounding, and it's like it's a process of really becoming an adult and growing up and facing the fact, right?
yeah, yeah, part
Right.
of it. Yeah.
So if we really ground that, then we're going to have to feel all that pain about the loss, where we want to bypass and say, oh, something better is waiting for me. It's nice to have that hope. There is something better waiting for me, and I'm going to ground this and really feel what's happened.
Hmm.
And at the same time, I remember Barbara Brennan used to tell us, what is it you really long for? We would be in a big group meditation.
Hmm.
Drop into the seat of your longing and feel it in your heart. Feel the seat of your longing. And, then she'd take us into Hara, which is a practice of learning how to manifest through your energy field. And she'd, say, what's going to come up is you're going to feel a pain. You're going to feel the pain of your longing, because you're going to feel your longing, but also you also can see that you don't have your longing. So you,
Yes. In other words, it's if I'm longing for it, that means I don't have it.
right, I'm longing for it, and I also see that it's not going to be here. I don't really believe it's going to be here. So being willing to sit in both, to
Mhm.
sit in the pain of your longing, and also long with your most open, joyous part of yourself at the same time. And that's the difficult part, because people are either
Yes.
in one place or the other.
Yeah. And you're saying it's both and.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
both and. Yeah. So the idea that, when we say that the body has wisdom, and most of us have had the experience of, well, if we're lucky, we have, maybe we go somewhere that we get some sort of a feeling in our body that said, get out of there, don't stay there. And
Mhm.
there's nothing obviously wrong, but something tells us that we need to leave there. And there's a sensation or an awareness that comes through the body. Um, so how can we pay attention to those things? I guess part of it is, I think we're saying it's a willingness to let whatever is there be there and not try to shove it away so quickly or um, numb ourselves, which is what our natural, I guess, reaction is. What can
Right.
we do to hear those things?
Well, sometimes it's impossible, because, fear will take you right out. I mean, like, if you do have that sense of I'm in danger, and then you something larger, maybe angels or guides, even come in to save you at some
Yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah.
get you out of there before you have a chance to be in real danger. Um, and then that's what shock and trauma is. That's what trauma and shock does to you, and it takes a while to heal from that trauma. And the way to heal from that kind of trauma is actually to drop back into the body with somebody who's caring and take you slowly through it, to feel it again in a safe place in order to heal that trauma. So you do have to actually go through it. So that process is cut off a lot. This is really
Mhm.
kind of going in a lot of different areas, I realize, but things
Right, right, right. Yeah.
are connected. But guide me back to what is was you wanted me to say, because I've gotten a little.
Well, I just think that we are trying to be. I mean, I realize that trauma and whatever is a deeper journey to heal that, and I think we learned. I know I have that the idea of talking about it, let's say, isn't enough. That the body has to be involved in this
Right.
process. That there is a
Right.
process.
Because it is locked in the body, and that's where the body does have wisdom. So that's kind of where we were. The body
Right.
has this certain wisdom. So you're asking me, how do you stay with the body?
Yes. Because you said, when you go into fear and other things, it takes you out of your body. Is that right?
It can take you out of your body if it's enough of a shock, right? If it's
Shock.
a shock.
Okay.
So, it's a matter of trust as you build a deeper connection and trust and trusting life all the way, trusting God, just, and it's a big job. It's a big task to trust life. It's huge because life has not always been kind,
No.
you know?
Well, and I think though that, as I said earlier about making friends with your body, you use the analogy of dancers, and I think it's a perfect analogy of forcing their body, controlling their body,
Yeah.
to making it bend to their will is what we think of, what dancers really do. And the idea is that, or all of us, we have judgments about our body. We look at images of what we consider perfect bodies and we compare our bodies to those. And maybe part of it is just being older, but I think it's also an awareness that, this is my body, that I have this body that I was given, as you say. It, on one hand, it's a limitation, but it's the container of my soul, right?
Right. And that limitation is a good thing because within that boundary of limits, where, where you can move and you move up against the edges and you push the edges and you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just being willing to feel. I think it comes down to being willing to feel because every time we're not willing to feel, we disconnect and we go into separation
Mm-hmm.
and out of unity.
Mm-hmm. And do you find in your work that
And I
people?
want to say, something else here. It's not like unity is someplace that you go,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
It's not someplace you go. It's like when you go into separation, you separate and disconnect and you're out of unity. Really being willing to feeling all of life and feeling everything and feeling all the sadness and the pain and all the joy and knowing that things will pass through you like a stream and that you're just open to the flow of everything and willing to just be present and accept and respond to what comes through. Um, then you're much more close to unity.
Right. And that's I think a perfect way to look at all this as it's sort of this deep acceptance of all that is a much better description of, instead of I should feel this or I shouldn't feel that, and if I was really spiritual I wouldn't feel that way or I wouldn't, the idea is to feel it all. And this, and I think it's, we used to talk about enlightenment, and I think a better word might be wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
Being in wholeness, as you said, unity with ourselves, unity with others, rather than sort of an enlightened, I'm sort of above it all. That's kind of the image that I used to think.
Yeah, right. It can take you there, but if you actually just look at that term enlightenment and go, it's enlightenment almost like a tree that grows up to accept the full sun while the roots are still in the ground, right?
Yes.
Again, you keep going higher and going deeper, higher and deeper, and it's I don't know. It's like how many lifetimes does it take to become enlightened?
I I have no idea. I try to be concentrating on this lifetime and let the rest take care of itself.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, though, the willingness to be in the unknown.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing too, and especially we've had a lot of training in this past year with being in the unknown. We
Yes.
don't know what's happening on many levels, and
No.
to be able to be with the unknown and stay grounded and feel whatever you feel about being in the unknown, and allow yourself to express that and share that with other people, and put on some wild music and dance it out and
Yeah. Well, and I know, you used to teach. Do you still have your conscious movement class online, you said?
I do. I'm actually not doing. I still have a group online that I meet with weekly, and I did the period of work doing spiritual dance at Unity.
Yes.
Then, in March we were, out, and I did it online for, I guess, the time I had committed to. Right around that time, I started to get this sort of inner thing that was going on in my body that I'd pay attention to, so I stopped doing
Mhm.
it. But I'm actually thinking of starting it up again, and doing the movement online and the embodied meditation leading into movement, which I think is, really enriching.
Well, and we will all look forward to that because this work of connecting to the body is not like you do one time and then you're done, right? You
Well,
do
it's
this a
not,
lot.
yeah, it's really a practice, and it's like any other kind of practice. When you have a group to do it with, there's a container of the energy which helps support the practice and the sharing that you do in the beginning
Yeah.
and the ending too. To
Well, and someday soon we'll be doing it again in person.
Yeah,
This is not a permanent thing, thank goodness. So, well, thank you so much, Lynn. This is so much we could talk about more, I'm sure, and maybe we will someday have another discussion about this. But thank you so much for your words. And if anyone wants to find out more about your work with healing or conscious movement, they can send an email to me, maryjean@unitytustin.org, and we can give them more information.
yeah, that'd be great. I'm happy for you to pass anything to me, any emails or whatever.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful talk. Thanks for inviting me, Mary Jean.
Thank you so much, Lynn. That was very good. And I know that we're going to be talking more about this subject of the role of the body in spirituality. So let's take a moment to acknowledge all the gifts that we receive from our spiritual community. This is your community. This is your place to grow, to connect, to ask questions, to be in prayer, to bring your vulnerability and your faith in whatever form that is for you, and to grow spiritually at Unity of Tustin. And part of this growth and part of your commitment to your spiritual life is participating in the giving and receiving from your spiritual source. So join me in saying the love offering affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. I am so blessed.
If this is my last song, if this is my final day, if tomorrow I'll be gone, what do I want to say? If this is my last song, if it's my time to go, when my body's moved on, what will I have to show? Oh, but fortune and fame, they scatter to the wind. The things that make a name just don't matter in the end. But is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and skies a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. If these are my last words for all of the earth to hear, if all that I have ever been is about to disappear, if these are my last words, there's nothing that I need to say. I have only tried to serve. It's never been about talking anyway. So much hurt there is to heal, it's hard to understand. All I can hope to feel is that I am doing what I can. Is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and skies a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. Have I given hope to the hopeless? Has a hungry soul been fed? Has a child stood a little bit taller because of something that I said? Have I left a little kindness? Have I eased a little pain? If so, then I'm glad I came. For that, I'm so glad I came. If this is my last song, what do I leave behind? What do I pass on if I am out of time?
So I want to close with a reminder about Reverend Blair's class on Rumi poetry, which begins tomorrow at 6:30. If you're on our mailing list, you've received an email with a link that can link you to the Zoom class that begins at 6:30. If you haven't received the link, you can go to our website and get the link, www.unitytustin.org, or you can send me an email at maryjean@unitytustin.org. This is going to be a wonderful opportunity to go deep into Rumi's poetry. And Blair tells me that he's taught this class several times and it's always been very popular. He's really only taught it as a workshop before. So now he's got an opportunity to go deeper into some of these things. So join us. It's going to be from 6:30 to 8 for 4 weeks, beginning this Thursday. And let's close with the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. A very powerful affirmation. Whenever you feel confused or unsure or your mind is racing, repeat this prayer, this affirmation of God's presence. Thank you so much for being with me tonight, and I hope to see you next week on Conscious Conversations.
soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. 'Cause here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in into the deepest kind of love, into the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul.